I will dive straight into the business of the day. Let me start first by thanking the chairman of the Senate Committee on Youth and Sports and all the committee members. I'm thanking you on behalf of the entire sports-loving population of Nigeria for undertaking this exercise that is this public hearing. It demonstrates your interest in the development of sports in our country. But beyond that, it also demonstrates your commitment to see that necessary actions and legislations are in place to undergird sports development in Nigeria. And I believe this will start with the amendment of existing Decree 37 of 1971, which is still subsisting, promising a new bill where possible. I know that before us today are two bills: the bill for the National Sports Commission, NSC, and the bill for the Federal Sports University, Nkalagu, Ebonyi State. Mr. Chairman, the world over, we have seen sports become big business. Sports as business is a prerequisite for any country that intends to develop its sports successfully and in a dynamic trajectory. A sports as business policy and orientation opens doors for investments from the organized private sector, OPS. Governments the world over are no longer the sole investors in sports growth and development. Private sector participation drives sports. It rewards athletes, creates jobs, drives manufacturing, generates revenue, and contributes to the GDP of countries. At the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, we have in the past 18 months been busy working with critical stakeholders to deliver for our country a new sports industry policy, christened the Nigerian Sports Industry Policy, NSIP. This, we hope, will change the face and fundamentals of our sports development. It is an attempt to build a business model around our sports in Nigeria so that we can be on the same path like North America, Europe, South America, and other climes. Nigeria's sports development can be driven by both government and private funds. At the ministry, we have successfully secured the reclassification of sports from being a mere recreation to business. President Muhammadu Buhari in Council, August last year, approved this reclassification. Therefore, in principle, sports is now business in Nigeria. What remains is for the policy that will drive this sports as business to be delivered, and that policy is in its final stages. I have a copy of the draft policy here. The sports industry policy, when delivered, we'll see that it's anchored on 3 I's. The 3 I's are infrastructure, investment, and incentive, driven by the policy. A copy of the relevant highlights are provided in Annex 1 of this document. It is along this thinking, therefore, this afternoon, and at this public hearing, and in the light of all of this, that I want to urge our distinguished senators and everyone here, critical stakeholders, to consider the first bill, the National Sports Commission bill, and any similar legislation relating to sports development must be considered in the light of the new thinking and orientation of sports as industry. Bearing in mind that in the contemporary world of sports development, Nigeria cannot afford to return to the past. Rather, it must embrace the present reality, ask the difficult questions as appropriate, and seek the right solutions. Distinguished Chairman, distinguished members of the Committee on Sports and Youth Development, the most instructive question to ask is, why was the National Sports Commission jettisoned in the first instance? Was it due to lack of paucity of funds, or did the NSC create aberrations in the past, as some of those who held the leadership positions wielded and misplaced powers of the Commission in manners that undermined the sports industry itself? Were ministers led by the nose, by vested interests, represented by the leadership of that commission? Were captives taken such that it eventually killed sports development in our country? Could any or all of this have informed the abolishment of the National Sports Commission several years back? It is therefore important that the new commission bill that is envisaged does not have a sole administrator, rather a DG. Records do not show that the National Sports Commission developed sports in this country very clearly, especially when evaluated from the point of view of podium success. That's the previous Sports Commission. The Commission also failed when assessed based on the data on our medals table when compared to countries like Kenya, South Africa, Egypt, and Ethiopia. This time around, the National Sports Commission that we envision must be different and properly structured and designed. Successive leadership of the NSC were unable to attract private sector investment into these areas of sports that will support sports development. The industry was not developed because the focus of the brief was narrowed to participatory sports. The Sports Commission currently envisaged must be structured in a way that makes it capable of doing the work required to drive a sports repositioning agenda such as the ministry has mapped out in the sports industry policy, because we must depart from the narrow definition of the job description. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to speak about the university shortly, but please permit me a few more minutes just to make a few pungent points. We need to anticipate how the Sports Commission and the ongoing reforms in the industry will exist side by side. The implementation of these initiatives can be hampered because of unnecessary tough words that may take us back to square one, so we must be mindful of that. Under the Sports Industry Bill being worked on, the states have a primary responsibility for athletes' development. And if we check the states that converted from Ministry of Sports to Sports Commission, you hardly notice much difference, but they're on the right path. This whole Sports Commission issue that is before us, in as much as it's just a nomenclature, we must make sure that we set up a commission that is contemporary, one that can develop our sports, that can, in a deliberate way, radically depart from what we had before. In the period I've been a Minister of Youth and Sports, about 23 months, we have seen the government support the new orientation towards sports as industry. We have seen sports become more professionalized. And we think a National Sports Commission that is contemporary in orientation, contemporary in structure, will help to grow this. This bill, the National Sports Commission bill's intent, can be easily strengthened in line with the recommendations in the Sports Industry Policy NSIP, so that they become more independent, they achieve their developmental goals similar to what we're doing with the Nigerian Football Development Master Plan through the NFF. Mr. Chairman, I have drilled down to the very specifics of the current bill. I will just mention them, I will not read them. Section 3(1)(c), Section 3(c), Section 4, subsection 2, Section 5, Section 10, Section 12(1)(b), Section 14, and 16, subsection 2. These are the devil in the details that we have highlighted as our preliminary submission. And I'm sure with your permission and the permission of this committee, the ministry will, in a week's time, if we have your permission, provide our detailed, very detailed submission beyond this. So let me say that I fully support the return of the Sports Commission. But not in the form, the structure, and the orientation in which we had it before. I am confident that we can bring it in line with the present thinking, that of turning sports into industry. We can bring it in line with other sports commissions that we have in Australia, in Denmark, in South Africa. These are benchmarks we've done. And that once we do that, I have no doubt in my mind that this country can find the technically sound people, core professionals, that can man this very important commission. I am sure that the bill, which I've highlighted, will take care of whatever frictions that we've had in the past between the Minister of Youth and Sports Development and the Commission, or the leadership of the Commission, and settle on a clear agenda that should be singular and should be dynamic. On the second bill, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the committee, Federal University of Sports, Nkalagu, Ebonyi State. This is a welcome bill in line with the new developments in the sports subsector. We are now in an era of digital sports, where esports is raking in over 32 billion annually. Sports as a discipline has been transformed. The sports value chain is massive from point A to Z, creating jobs, bringing about manufacturing companies, nutritionists, coaches, technical assistants, sports medicine, therapists, and I can go on and on. It's a massive value chain. The University of Sports can provide this opportunity for our youth who can go there, invest their talents in academic pursuit. The University of Sports can also dwell on specialization, which is critical for sports development. Other parts of the world we have found University of Sports. I think the time has come for this country to also have a dedicated University of Sports with a curriculum that is benchmarked against what we have. But I also know that we have the National Institute of Sports in Lagos, Nigeria, a parastatal under the ministry. We must chart a path that will see whatever University of Sports that is set up, that will work together as a feeder in a collaborative manner. Again, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members, I want to plead that we have the opportunity to submit a very comprehensive report opposition on this, but I'm sure for now this will suffice. Thank you for your time. If because of certain reasons that saw the Commission losing focus, also occasioned by the paucity of funds on the part of the federal government, and a few other reasons, the Commission was rested. But then we have seen in the last 4 or 5 years the new trajectory in sports development across the world. But also under President Muhammadu Buhari in the last 3 years, we have seen a refocus of sports, no longer as just recreation, but also as business. We are almost at the doorstep of delivering a document on sports as industry. That is a business model built around our sports. Now, when you look at the totality of this, you start to talk about the technical depth of our sports development, the need to have a law backing up sports development. It doesn't just start and stop at the stadium and the tracks. It starts from the family unit, where you know that taking a walk is important. It starts from the schools and colleges. Our primary schools, secondary schools must have some time set aside, 40 minutes, 30 minutes for sports activity. All of this must be guided by law. And we need a commission like this that can
be fully focused on the development of sports at all levels, state, local, federal, and also the family unit. Thank you.